Hey guys, it's Vince and Drew with Power 5 Fanatics. We're back at you, 2020 edition. Uh, we're getting ready for some games this weekend, Drew, and then the following Saturday or the following week is when the Power 5 conferences really get in gear.
I think it's mostly the Big 12 and the ACC, and the SEC is coming up later this month. But
it's going to be a different year, obviously, with COVID-19.
Yeah.
The only three of the Power 5 conferences are playing this year, the Big 12, SEC, ACC. What we're going to do starting off this week, we're going to go in-depth look at all three of those conferences. Right. Some of the players, maybe they've gotten through a transfer or returning players, some of them that have moved on from the program, maybe new coaches, and then we're going to look at the over-under totals and give you our prediction there. We're going to start with the Big 12, Drew, and we'll start up north with Iowa State.
Right.
They've been the top team where they've kind of been a dark horse last 2 or 3 years. A lot of people are thinking, maybe this is the year that they're going to win the Big 12. And just looking at what they have returning, this very well could be that year, again, as more of a dark horse candidate. Brock Purdy, the quarterback, is returning. Breece Hall and Johnny Lang, their top two running backs, are coming back.
Right.
They have lost 2 of 3 wide receivers. Jones and Milton are gone, but they have 2 great tight ends that are returning, Charlie Kolar, and they have another tight end also that was productive last year in 2019 returning. They've lost 4 defenders off their defense. Drew, it just looks to me that this could be another good year for Brock Purdy and Iowa State. Their calling card really been their running game and their defense, and it looks like maybe they can keep that going.
Right.
They got the veteran Brock Purdy. Obviously, is going to help a lot. They're over under total 6.5. What do you think on that on the wins this year?
Yeah, I think it comes down to can Brock Purdy be that first round pick type of quarterback that there are some mock drafts going out saying that he could be. Because, I think they have a pretty favorable schedule. The toughest game is definitely going to be Oklahoma on the road, but they get Texas at home. And, of course, I think that they're quite a bit better than most of the Big 12 this year. So.
Actually, they got Texas. That one's on the road. Yeah, they beat Texas at home last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
So that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
They do have a tough schedule. And OU's actually at Ames, Iowa. But anyways, they got to. Everybody's going to have a tough schedule. They got to play everybody in the Big 12.
Yeah, basically everyone's. This was already how the Big 12 did it, anyways. So not a whole lot's changed for the Big 12 because everyone plays everyone.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying over
6.5.
I think definitely 7-8 wins is a possibility, and if things fall just right, you could even be talking about like a 9-win season for Iowa State this year. It's going to be tough for them to do, but I think definitely over on the 6.5.
Yeah, I've got them going over as well. Like I said, I think they have a favorable schedule, and get an upset here and there, and 6.5 is definitely doable for Iowa State.
Staying up north, we'll continue on with the Kansas teams. Kansas State, Skylar Thompson is returning as a quarterback. In fact, there's a lot of returning quarterbacks this year in the Big 12. There's not a whole lot of them that would be considered Heisman Trophy candidates. There's 1 or 2, but there's still some, experience counts so much in college football or college sports, period. Kansas State also has their top running back, James Gilbert is actually not there anymore. I'm sorry. And they also lost their top receiver, Dalton Schoen.
Yeah.
And I'd say one of the probably maybe the biggest thing that's going to hurt them, they've lost 5 defenders off that defense, which was pretty stout at times last year.
It really was.
They had their moments. That team's a lot like Iowa State. They're gritty. They're not afraid of playing the big boys and punching them in the mouth.
Right.
And they're not afraid to get punched. So Kansas State, last year when they beat Oklahoma, one of the bigger upsets of the entire year. The over/under on the Wildcats is 5.5. I got them going under. I just think maybe they're going to take a step back this year, Drew. Mainly because I think their defense might struggle a little bit with some of the Big 12 offenses, and they've lost some other skill players. I mean, their running back and Dalton Schoen's gone, so I think maybe they might struggle a little bit at scoring at times.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take the over on Kansas State, and I juggled back and forth with this one. Of course, they are losing a lot of players. They are getting Skylar Thompson back, like Vince said. But
he's got a little bit to prove, though. I mean,
yeah.
he can improve, especially throwing the ball. I mean, he's a very gritty player, and he was one of the reasons they beat Oklahoma last year, obviously.
Yeah. And he's not one of the top end quarterbacks, but I think this team really surprised me last year. Whenever it was Chris Kleiman's first season, and I think they won 8 games. They went 8-4 last year, and they upset Oklahoma. So this is one of those teams where I could see it going both ways, but actually, I think I could see it easier of them actually becoming one of the better teams in the Big 12. So I'm going to go ahead and say
that's where one we're going to disagree with.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe 5 wins for Kansas State this year. I think they're just not going to have enough firepower on offense, and losing some of their playmakers on defense. Kansas, it's going to be another tough year for Kansas, the way it looks.
Yeah.
They just don't have the guns that they need. They did lose their quarterback also. That's one of the teams that didn't have a returner. Carter Stanley's gone. Bright spot, Puka Williams is back, the running back, and he was exceptional at times last year. They also returned their top wide receiver, Andrew Parchment. They're losing 7 defenders, though, which is going to hurt a lot. I know they didn't have just the greatest defense anyways last year, but they're going to have some new faces on defense.
Right.
And there's just some pretty good offenses in the Big 12, and I think they're going to struggle. I mean, the over-under on Kansas is only 3, and I'm saying under. I really think that, Drew, they're going to struggle to win 2 games.
Yeah.
And what are you thinking?
Yeah, Kansas is it's going to take a few more years, I think, before Kansas is really getting the type of quality players you need to play at a competitive level in a Power 5 conference. They had so many kind of missteps with the past regime, bringing in, players who they thought could help them instantly, and some grad transfers and some different things, but it really kind of set them back in the whole scholarship limit situation. But believe it or not, this team does have some talent. Like Vince said, Puka Williams is one of the best running backs in the Big 12.
He's probably an NFL player.
And last year,
caliber running back.
Yeah, I think so. And last year, I thought Kansas's receivers were solid, man. I mean, I really thought they did, but losing 7 defenders is
Andrew Parchment's not there anymore, one of their receivers from last year. So, anyways, it's just they got some challenges. I'm sorry, Andrew Parchment is returning. My bad. But they got they got those 2 skill positions set up pretty good. But losing Carter Stanley is going to hurt them some.
I'm taking the under on them. I don't know if they'll win a Big 12 game, to be honest with you. I think they'll win their non-conference, but
they're going to struggle.
And they might win a game in the Big 12, but I think 3 is a pretty clear, at least as of right now, an under for me.
Yeah, I agree. Moving to Oklahoma, this is kind of a transitional year for them, if you want to call it. They usually reload pretty good.
Sure.
And this was one where I was kind of, you don't want to just you don't want to discount Oklahoma, but when I see some of the players that they lost, it's hard to just jump on the bandwagon either. Of course, Jalen Hurts is gone. Spencer Rattler is going to be the starter. I don't think they're going to lose a whole lot there, honestly. I think they're still going to be able to move the ball pretty good.
I think that's fair.
The problem is they have some players that are not there anymore. Their top 2 running backs, Kennedy Brooks.
And Trey Sermon.
Yeah.
Trey Sermon went to a situation where he's not going to play football in Ohio State.
He transferred. I know.
Yeah.
How unlucky is that?
Yeah.
And then Kennedy Brooks, from last we've heard, has opted out this year.
Right.
So that's going to hurt. CeeDee Lamb's gone, of course.
Yep.
Their all-world receiver. They do have Charleston Rambo back, so he had 750 yards and 5 touchdowns last year, Drew. Obviously, I think he's set up to have a big year.
And they're getting Grant Calcaterra back, which I don't think they thought they would maybe about a month ago or so. So he's a big-time tight end for them.
But they did also lose Lee Morris. He's gone, their wide receiver. 4 defenders are gone, which in itself is not too bad, but 2 of those were, studs.
Top three round picks, Gallimore and Kenneth Murray. Those are going to be tough losses for sure.
And last year, Oklahoma's defense, was starting to actually
kind of take a step forward.
They did. They did. They at times they looked really good, and that's been the Achilles heel for Oklahoma. One reason they hadn't been able to advance in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The defense, might
might be a good thing they lost some players on the defense. I don't know.
Those 2 players are going to be hard to replace.
Yeah, they will. They definitely will.
I had them over on the 8.5. I was thinking they're definitely a 9-win team, but I'm going under now. I'm thinking 8 wins. That's what.
Yeah, I also am going under, which it's hard for me to do that because they have won the Big 12 5 years in a row, and it's kind of like, trying to give them the respect that they deserve until proven otherwise. But you also look across like the defensive line and some different positions that they had a couple players that won't be playing the first 5 games of the season too because they had gotten, I think, some type of criminal charge or something at the end of last season. So that's going to hurt them. I think their best pass rusher, Ronnie Perkins, or Redmond. I can't remember exactly who the players are, but
I think this could be a transitional year.
They have some attrition they got.
I'm not picking them to win the Big 12.
Yeah.
But I think they're obviously going to be contenders, and I think they will have a good year.
I got them under 8.5 as well. I think they'll go maybe
I'm thinking 8
games,
wins.
maybe 8-2, something like that.
Continuing in the great state of Oklahoma State. Now, they look like they're loaded, Drew.
They do.
Spencer Sanders, their quarterback,
at least on the surface.
Chuba Hubbard, and the backup running back LD Brown are back.
Yeah.
Their top 3 wide receivers return. Their offense, I think they're going to be the best offense in the Big 12. Either they are or Texas, one or the other. But definitely one of the top offenses in the Big 12. They did lose 3 defenders on defense, so they got 8 guys returning. I think this is a year where they make a move, and it could even be a Big 12 winning team.
Yeah, they are bringing just about everyone back. And last year their defense wasn't very good. I think they're bringing back 7 or something starters.
They're bringing back 8.
8 starters.
But
that may not always be a good thing either. So it kind of depends.
Experience
I do think
is nice.
And especially in a year where you don't have like a spring football schedule where they weren't able to kind of play and let some of the younger guys come together. I think that experience is really going to maybe
especially the first month,
help elevate them offensively and defensively. And I think Spencer Sanders, he showed some flashes last year. He did make some mistakes as a young quarterback. But I think this year could be a year where he kind of comes to the forefront and becomes one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. So I have them going surprisingly under, though, because I believe their over-under is it 7?
It's 7, yeah.
I have them pushing. I think 7 wins is about where I would put Oklahoma State. But I could easily – this is probably the bet I would not bet the mortgage on because I could easily see Oklahoma State having a 2011 type of season and actually winning the Big 12.
I got them going over. I think it's going to come down to them and the University of Texas and Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma State's going to beat Oklahoma on the road this year.
And they get Texas at home. That's one of the.
They always play them tough, and I think they could be a better team. I know that sounds crazy, but Oklahoma State, I think they're that good this year.
I do not feel super confident about that one because I could easily see that one. I could see them winning all their games, to be honest with you.
Moving on to the great state of Texas, we'll start up in the South Plains with Texas Tech. One of those teams, you're just like, well,
what are they going to be?
Who knows? They do have a few things they can hang their hat on. Alan Bowman is returning, their quarterback. The problem with Alan Bowman is he's one of the more injury-prone
stay healthy
players in the Big 12 as far as quarterbacks go.
But I'm hearing that they really like Maverick McIver too.
Right.
So there's kind of a quarterback battle.
I think Bowman will be starting though.
Yeah,
And
I think
but
that's
the
a
other,
fair bet.
but he could play. McIver
Yeah.
could definitely play. Um, Jet Duffy is gone. The running quarterback they had last year that was so productive, gaining yards, rushing. He also threw the ball great too, but he's moved on. Trying to remember where he moved. Did he go to North Texas, Drew?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I
It's
can't-
something like that.
I can't remember, but he did transfer. They do have both of their running backs, Sir Roderick Thompson, Tazon Henry, are both returning.
Yep.
So their running back stable is one of the best in the Big 12. I think
agree.
most people would agree.
Yep.
TJ Vasher is back. He did have some academic issues, but I think all that's been fixed. And
Ezukama or whatever.
yeah, Ezekama is also back. So, look, I think their offense, they also have Jack Anderson, their stud offensive guard, back.
Yeah.
So, if everybody can stay healthy, I think Tech can have one of the better offenses in the Big 12, without a doubt. The problem is going to be a little bit on the defense, which it usually is with Texas Tech. Jordan Brooks, their all-world linebackers, gone. They only had the 3 total defenders leaving. It's just Jordan Brooks was such a stud.
It's gonna
I
be hard
mean,
to
I don't
replace
even know.
him.
I don't know how many tackles he had last year, like 140 or something. But that's going to hurt. I got them over though, Drew. Over unders 4.5 on Texas Tech.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win at least 5 games.
I think this is probably, if I could give a reward for most slept on team in the Big 12, it would probably be Texas Tech. I do have them going under 4.5 though, and I think the biggest reason for that is not because I don't think they could upset every single team on their schedule. I know they could. I just think there is such a division between the top half of the Big 12 and the bottom half, and I think that there's just several games on Tech's schedule that are probably going to be games that they won't win, but I do think that Tech has some games on their schedule that they can, either upset someone or, win a game by a large margin depending on who it is. So I have
They're
them-
one of the teams that are just going to be real hard to figure out.
They are.
They could have just like a great year, and have 7 or 8 wins, and then they could also have, like what you said, Drew, go 4 and 6.
I think 4.5 is perfect because I think I'm taking the under here, but I think their schedule when we look back on it, it's either going to be 4 and 6 or 5 and 5, and that goes on both ends of that 4.5. So I think 4.5 is, man, that sounds about perfect to me if you're going to set a line on a team.
Moving on to TCU, last year was a disappointment at times.
Yep.
They played good.
Past couple years,
Yeah, they had a couple good games last year. We were like, wow. And
they
then
beat Texas.
Yeah, that's right. They beat Texas. I believe they beat Mississippi State last year.
Lost to Baylor in overtime, which Baylor was a good.
But then
team.
they had some dud games also, and
like Oklahoma, they weren't competitive. It was like 55-16 or
yeah.
something.
And the problem this year is Dugan has a medical condition, their quarterback, and he was that scrappy. I think he was a freshman last year, wasn't he? Pretty sure
Yeah.
he was. And he was one of the reasons, I know he was definitely the reason they beat Texas Tech last year. And he's not playing. He has some type of heart condition, so we'll
Yeah, be
kinda-
thinking about him for
Yeah.
sure. Hopefully he's all
So who's their starter going to be? It could be the freshman William Long from Austin. I think it's kind of up in there, and I don't think Patterson's really saying who it's going to be probably till the.
And if I'm not
Season
mistaken,
start.
I think they got Baldwin, I think, from Ohio State as well, which I think he's probably competing for that spot.
So it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
The problem is Darius Anderson, the running back, and Jalen Rager are both gone.
Yep.
So they weren't really offensive juggernauts anyways last year. Their defense has
In
always
fact,
been
quite the opposite.
Yeah, their defense has always been one of their calling cards.
They lost some great defensive players.
They are
too.
returning Barber and Hunt, their wide receiver, the second and third wide receiver after Jalen Rager. They are coming back, but the problem is their defense is losing 7 out of 11 starters.
And a first-round pick on defensive line.
Yeah. I think they're going to struggle this year, Drew. I think they're in the bottom part of the Big 12 you're just talking about. I'm definitely going under the 6. I think 6 is too many wins for them. And, I'm thinking 4 to 5 wins. You also agree, Drew, that this is going to be a rebuilding year.
Yeah, man, I would like
You
to
know,
know.
and things could change. Dugan, maybe he'll get another opinion. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's just
automatically.
automatic. I mean, he may come back. I don't know. He's probably getting other opinions. But anyways, that definitely hurt them. And losing Darius Anderson, Jalen Rager were killers. I mean, Jalen Rager was probably the best receiver in the conference last year, wasn't he? He was one of them.
I mean, him or CeeDee Lamb probably.
Oh yeah, CeeDee Lamb. After CeeDee Lamb, I'd say he was probably the second best.
Yeah.
But we got him going under.
I got him going under. I think that 6 is going to be a really hard threshold to hit for TCU. I mean, like any year, they're going to play everyone in the Big 12, and there's going to be. I mean, that alone. I know the Big 12 isn't exactly what you call top elite heavy, but it is pretty top heavy. And I do think it's also really a thick, like, deep conference.
It was last year. It was
where-
maybe the deepest conference, actually, top to bottom. It was pretty good.
And just like any other team that could beat TCU on any given week, I could see TCU beating any team. I mean, it's that deep. But I think 6 is just a tough threshold when you're having to play every single team in your conference. So
Moving on to Waco, Baylor this year, they got a new coach.
Dave Aranda.
Yeah, the only new coach in the Big 12. Charlie Brewer, their quarterback, returns. They did lose some offensive talent though. Jamichael Hasty, the running back, and the wide receiver Denzel Mims are both gone.
Yep.
And maybe the worst thing is they're only returning 4 starters on defense. Again, that definitely was the calling card for Baylor last year.
Yep.
They would beat you with their defense and running the ball. I don't know, Drew. I think they're going to struggle a little bit with a new coach. We'll see how the defense rebounds with the the new blood in there. But I'm going under. The over under on Baylor is 6.5, and I think that's too many. I think they're going to have about a 500 years. What it's looking like to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think 6.5 is kind of inflated from their success from last year, rightfully so. I mean, I think they went 11-1, and then they went to the Sugar Bowl and lost to Georgia. But they got. I just think they're having to replace too much. Now, Charlie Brewer is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12.
No, definitely,
hands down.
Yeah,
but he can't do it alone, and he's going to have some type of. Maybe they have some players that are going to step up this year that can really take.
I think
the
their
workload.
defense though is just it's going to take a
And they're going to have to, they're getting a new coaching staff in here too.
Yeah.
They're going to have to learn the new system and.
I'm thinking
kinda implement some
500,
things.
5-5 maybe for Baylor. I'm not saying they're going to just be insignificant or not a challenger at all. They're going to win their share of games. Consistently, I don't think they're going to have enough across the board, to consistently win week to week like they did last year.
Right.
And then they won a lot of close games last year too.
Yep.
And you got to remember that they beat Tech on like a
fluky.
fluke play, and
Yeah.
they barely beat TCU, I believe.
They beat him in overtime by like 6.
So, sometimes things go your way. Some years they don't. I don't know if they're going to be having that kind of success again. In fact, I highly doubt it. Last team in Texas, Drew, is the University of Texas. I know a lot of the fanboys for UT are thinking this really could be it,
Yeah.
If you looked at Vegas odds, I mean, they're right there with Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's favored a little bit more to win the Big 12, but not by much. And just with everything going on in the country, obviously, if you do have 2 conferences not playing, which it looks like we're going to, it just opens the doors up for some other teams, somebody like the University of Texas to make a move. I'm talking about getting into the playoffs this year. They got a lot coming back. Ellinger's back. Keontae Ingram is back. Rashawn Johnson, the other running back, is back.
They're bringing in grad transfer.
Devin
Tariq Black.
Duvernay is back. They're wide.
No, he's gone. Devin
Oh,
Duvernay
okay.
is
That's
out.
right. He's gone along with Colin Johnson.
Johnson's out, but
So-
they did bring in Tariq Black from Michigan.
From Michigan,
who's a
transfer. That's right.
And they have a potential first round left tackle in Sam Cosme and a pretty experienced
Brennan
center as
Eagles
well.
is also returning.
Brennan Eagles, and they're bringing back some other skill players as well.
Their defense is returning 7, and they definitely have some talent on the defense too. That's with another year to improve. I think they're going to be good this year, with definitely a shot to win the Big 12. The over/under is only 7.5. I think this is actually one of the better bets. Definitely in the Big 12 is taking Texas with the overs, because I can see 8-9 wins real easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people right now with Texas they know that they're talented, but I think a lot of people are just kind of in the boat of show me that you can actually win some games you're supposed to win. Because, I mean, basically every game, I mean, even the Oklahoma game, they have higher recruiting classes than Oklahoma. They have the most talented roster on paper of any Big 12 team. They just need to find a way to actually.
They're the Dallas Cowboys of college football lately. There's a lot of talk about them, but they need to show people.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
But I do think, though, I mean.
And Ellinger's definitely a Heisman Trophy candidate, without a doubt. And if this turns into the kind of year that the faithful are hoping for, he could be. I mean, he could win the Heisman Trophy. That's how good the guy is.
Well, and I think too, if I could pick one side of the ball for one team in the Big 12 that I think is going to be most improved, I think I might give that to the Texas defense. We'll have to see, but I mean, when you're looking at what they did last year, or what they allowed to happen last year, versus what you're kind of expecting with the experience they're getting back and the talent, and also what you're kind of hearing about this team, I think, and plus they're bringing in Chris Ash, who's a new defensive coordinator. I could definitely see them taking a big step defensively too. So,
and like I said, they got 7 guys returning, on defense. So, I'm sorry, they got 7 returning. So, in other words, they got a real good shot of improving on defense. And if that happens and they stay healthy, hey, I think they're a national player without a doubt. Moving out of the Southwest to West Virginia.
Yep.
And struggled last year, Drew. They do have Austin Kendall, their quarterback, returning. Again, a lot of returning quarterbacks in the Big 12 this year. Letty Brown, the running back, is returning. Problem is only 2 of their top 3 receivers from 2019 are coming back. They have 7 defenders coming back, returners. The over-under on West Virginia is the same as Texas Tech, and I think a lot of people are thinking, they may have the same kind of year as Texas Tech, somewhere in the middle of the pack. Could be a little bit better, maybe. But I got to go under on them. I just think they're going to struggle again this year. I don't know if they have the talent, to stay with the Oklahomas and the Texas and some of these other teams, Oklahoma State, offensively or defensively.
Yeah, I mean, they also have Dagey, I think is his name.
Yeah, he's the backup. He's a backup.
Is it Seth?
It's Jarrett Dagey.
Jarrett Dagey. Yeah. They have him too, and I think he actually could be the starter this year at quarterback.
Is that what you heard?
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty.
They got him listed at second string, but I mean, that could change week to week.
Yeah, we'll just have to see.
He's definitely talented. I mean, he was at Bowling Green a couple years back and played really well from Lubbock, Texas. But anyway, I just don't know if they have enough talent on both sides of the ball to stay with the upper half of the Big 12 like we were talking about. I'm going under on them. I think this is going to be a down year. 3 to 4 win. That's all I got them at.
Yeah, I mean, their over-under total is 4.5. And in order for – it's easy to just kind of think that maybe they can go over, because I do think this West Virginia team will be better than the one we saw last year, just in general. But someone's going to have to lose these games. And I still just kind of think right now West Virginia may be on the wrong side of that, at least until they can get some of their talent level up a little bit higher. I have all the faith in the world in their coach, Neil Brown, though. I think that long term, he puts West Virginia in a position where they can.
Yeah, I think there's just a
games.
Talent deficit.
But I agree.
Now.
I think there's just a little bit of a talent deficit, but I think that they're bringing in the type of players that they need to for the future to kind of get this win total back to where it was toward the end of, when they had some of these. I can't even remember that quarterback's name from a couple years ago.
gosh, great player. I can't remember his name.
They
I
had
was just
some-
I was just thinking of him this morning. I couldn't remember
Yeah.
his name.
Anyway.
They haven't had that type of player though at quarterback since he left, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's it, guys. On the Big 12, we're going to be coming here in a couple days with a SEC preview,
Yeah.
which will be very exciting.
And we're trying to keep up with all these opt-outs and these different players not playing and stuff like that. But
Let
I
us
think
know what you
we
guys
have
think of the
enough
Big
information.
12, who's going to win it. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell because we're going to be cranking some videos out this year. Excited about the coming football season.
Absolutely.
Y'all have a great week. Thanks.
See ya.